If I had known that a stupid dare would change my life forever, I would have said no the moment she walked into that dorm room. But there she was, Lila Bennett, smiling like she already owned the place, and somehow me too. Started as a prank. A dare. A joke between girls who thought love was something you could laugh about over tequila and broken curfews. But love has a cruel sense of humor. The first time I saw her, she was arguing with the dorm manager because the mattress was too thin for human survival. She stood there in ripped jeans and a pink crop top, looking like she just stepped out of a music video. Everyone in the hall was watching her, half amused, half hypnotized. I wasn't supposed to care. I wasn't supposed to notice how her voice carried, or how her eyes softened when she laughed. But I did. And I hated myself for it. Because girls like her, girls who agree to be your roommate on a dare, didn't fall for girls like me. My name is Harper Quinn. I'm a first-year journalism major with a scholarship that barely covers rent, a wardrobe that screams thrift store clearance, and a heart that's already been bruised enough to stay locked up. I came to college to start over, to be invisible. Then Lila happened. She showed up 2 weeks late, dragging 3 oversized suitcases and a Bluetooth speaker that blasted Taylor Swift at 8 a.m. She didn't even apologize. Just dropped her bags, smiled at me and said, "Hope you like music, roomie." I didn't. But I liked her smile. God help me, I did. Rumors spread fast in college. By the end of the week, I'd learned that Lila was part of Delta Phi, a notorious sorority known for their truth or dare hazing. And apparently, her dare was to live with a random girl from the scholarship list for 1 semester. Me. First I laughed. It was too ridiculous. No one would go that far for a joke, right? Then I overheard her friends in the cafeteria. She actually did it. Poor Harper probably thinks they're besties. Wait till she finds out it's all for a TikTok challenge. My hands went cold. That night when I got back to the dorm, Lila was sitting cross-legged on the floor, painting her nails. She looked up smiling. "Hey, I saved you some pizza." I stared at her. The girl with the glittering eyes and the effortless charm. The girl who made me laugh after long days. The girl who, apparently, was using me for entertainment. I didn't take the pizza. I just said, "You're really good at pretending." For a second, confusion flickered across her face. Then guilt. Real guilt. "Harper, I don't." I cut her off. "I get it. You had a dare, a challenge, whatever. Just didn't make me part of your game." Her mouth opened but no words came out. And for the first time since she moved in, Lila Bennett looked small. That night I cried quietly into my pillow, the sound drowned out by her music playing through the wall. Days turned into weeks. We still shared the same space, but the warmth was gone. She tried to make small talk. I kept my responses short. She'd leave notes on my desk, funny doodles, coffee receipts, sorry written in Sharpie, but I ignored them. It wasn't until midterms that things started to change. I was up late typing an essay on media ethics when my laptop crashed. I panicked, deadline in 6 hours, everything gone. Lila was sitting by the window, scrolling through her phone. Without a word, she stood up, came over, and started fixing my computer. She didn't say anything about the past, didn't make a joke. Just quietly helped. Her fingers brushed mine once, and I felt that same stupid jolt in my chest. "There," she said softly after 20 minutes. "You're good." "Thanks," I muttered. "Harper." She hesitated. "Can we talk?" I almost said no. But her voice shaky, nervous, wasn't the voice of someone still playing a dare. She told me everything that night. How her friends dared her to live with a random roommate for content. How she agreed because she thought it'd be funny. How 2 weeks in she realized I wasn't just some random roommate. "I deleted the video," she whispered. "The moment I realized I didn't want anyone laughing at you. Or at us." "Us," I repeated. She nodded. "I messed up, Harper. But I swear, the way I feel about you, none of that was fake." I wanted to believe her. God, I did. But believing meant risking my heart again, and I just glued it back together. So I said nothing. She sighed, stood up, and said the words that haunted me for weeks. "I'll give you space. But I'm not giving up." And she didn't. Every morning she'd leave coffee on my desk with a sticky note, bad puns, doodles, sometimes just "good luck today." When I got sick, she stayed up all night with a thermometer and Netflix reruns. When I had an anxiety attack before my presentation, she took my hand under the table, whispering, "You've got this." Slowly, the walls I'd built started to crack. I caught myself watching her dance around the room while brushing her teeth, or humming off-key in the shower. I laughed at her terrible jokes. And one night, while she was asleep on her side of the room, I whispered to the darkness, "Why do you make it so hard to hate you?" She didn't hear me. Thank God. Because even then, I wasn't ready to admit that I was falling for her. It happened during the first snow. We'd just come back from class, freezing laughing, trying to shake off the cold. Lila pulled out her phone and tried to take a selfie of us. I groaned. "You're obsessed with pictures." "Yeah, but I want this one," she said, leaning in. "Because this one matters." Something in her voice made me look at her. Really look. The snow was caught in her hair, her cheeks flushed red, her eyes softer than I'd ever seen. And before I could stop myself, I kissed her. It wasn't planned, it wasn't dramatic. It was quiet, trembling, perfect. When we finally pulled away, she whispered, "Was that another dare?" I smiled, tears blurring my vision. No. That was real. That night, for the first time in months, I fell asleep with her hand in mine. And I realized something sometimes. Love doesn't start with fireworks or destiny. Sometimes it starts with a mistake. A stupid dare. A cruel joke. And two hearts brave enough to rewrite the ending. The morning after our first kiss, the world felt different. Not in a fireworks and choirs kind of way, more like the world had exhaled. And for once I could breathe with it. Lila woke up before me. I heard her humming softly, making coffee in her oversized sweatshirt, her hair an adorable mess. For the first time I didn't feel the tension, the fear, or the resentment. Just a quiet warmth spreading through the tiny dorm room that used to feel too small for both of us. She turned around and caught me watching her. "You want sugar?" she asked, pretending her cheeks weren't flushed. "Just a little," I said. "Same as me then," she smiled, sliding the cup toward me. We didn't talk about the kiss. Not yet. Maybe both of us were afraid that saying it out loud would make it too real, too fragile. But something had changed and we both knew it. That day, campus looked different too. The trees were bare, the air crisp with winter, and the sidewalks shimmered with frost. As we walked to class together, I could feel people staring. Lila's reputation followed her everywhere. She was the kind of girl everyone noticed, the kind that made friends just by existing. And I, the quiet scholarship student, was suddenly the one walking beside her, close enough for rumors to start. At lunch, her sorority friends spotted us. "Oh my God, is that Harper?" One of them whispered, loud enough for me to hear. I thought the dare was over. Lila froze mid-step. Her hand almost brushed mine, then stopped. Something twisted inside my chest. She turned toward them, forcing a bright, fake smile. "Hey, Claire. Long time." Claire tilted her head, her glossy hair catching the light. "So, you're still hanging out with your little roommate experiment." I felt my stomach drop. Lila's friends didn't see me as a person, just a leftover from a joke that had already expired. But before I could walk away, Lila did something unexpected. She slid her hand into mine, fingers intertwining, her grip steady. "She's not an experiment," Lila said, her voice calm but sharp. "And she's not a joke." The girls blinked, stunned. A few murmured. Claire scoffed. "Oh please. You're serious." Lila squeezed my hand tighter. "Dead serious." And just like that, she walked us right past them. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst. Later, when we were back in the dorm, I turned to her. "You didn't have to do that." "Yes, I did." She was pacing, cheeks flushed with anger. "They don't get to treat you like that. Not after everything." I smiled weakly. "I'm used to being invisible." "It's fine." She stopped, eyes flashing. "No, Harper. It's not fine. You deserve better than that." Her words hit me harder than I expected. I'd spent years learning how to stay small, how to not take up too much space. But Lila, she saw me loudly, stubbornly. And that terrified me. As winter deepened, so did whatever was growing between us. We started spending more time together, not because we had to, but because we wanted to. Study sessions turned into late-night movie marathons. Coffee runs turned into inside jokes, and quiet glances turned into touches we didn't have to explain. One night, we were lying side by side, our laptops open, pretending to study. Lila sighed, closed hers, and turned toward me. "Do you ever think about what happens after this?" she asked. "After what?" College. Life. I hesitated. I don't usually plan that far. I just try to make it through the semester. She smiled softly. I used to think I'd marry some guy from a frat house, move to LA, live off green juice and influencer deals. Sounds exhausting, I teased. It would have been, she admitted. Because that wasn't really me. It was what everyone expected. But you. She reached out, her fingers brushing a strand of hair from my face. You make me want to figure out who I actually am. My chest tightened. You're already enough, Lila. She looked at me then, really looked like she was memorizing my face. And in that moment I realized that whatever this weighs, it wasn't just a college fling. It was real. But reality doesn't stay kind for long. The next week the video surfaced. A clip from months ago, back when she'd first accepted the dare. It wasn't posted by her, but by one of her sorority friends who thought it'd be funny to throw back to the challenge. The caption read, "Remember when Lila Bennett moved in with the scholarship girl? Legendary." It spread fast. Within hours everyone on campus had seen it. The comments were brutal. So she really fell for the joke? That poor girl doesn't even know she was content. Damn, Lila played her well. When I walked into the cafeteria that morning, the laughter hit me like glass. People whispering, pointing. Lila wasn't there. I left my tray, walked straight back to the dorm and packed my bag. She found me 10 minutes later, breathless, eyes red from crying. "Harper, please, don't." My voice cracked. "I told you once not to make me part of your game. It wasn't me. I swear I didn't post that." "I know," I said bitterly. "But you started it." She flinched like I'd slapped her. "I was stupid, okay? I was shallow and selfish, and God, I hate the person I was back then. But Harper, please don't leave." I zipped my backpack. "I can't do this again. I can't be your mistake twice. Harper." I brushed past her and walked out, her voice chasing me down the hallway. That was the last time I saw her for almost 2 months. Spring came slowly that year. The snow melted, the air warmed, and yet everything inside me felt cold. I moved into a single dorm room and buried myself in work articles for the campus paper, research, anything to fill the silence. But sometimes at night, I'd still hear her voice in my head. The way she laughed at my sarcasm. The way she whispered my name when she thought I was asleep. It was torture. Until one afternoon, while covering a student event for the newspaper, I saw her again. She was standing near the student center, handing out flyers for a mental health fundraiser. Her hair was shorter, her clothes simpler. There was something quieter about her now, no entourage, no noise, just sincerity. When our eyes met, she froze. Then she smiled, small and hesitant. "Hey," she said softly. "Hey." We stood there for a second, awkward and unsure. "I read your article about campus housing reform," she said. "It was incredible. Thanks." She hesitated. "You look good." "So do you." The silence stretched. Then she took a deep breath. "Can I take you somewhere?" I wanted to say no. I wanted to walk away. But curiosity, or maybe something deeper, made me nod. She led me to a small art exhibit downtown. Student paintings, photographs, sculptures, all raw, unpolished, real. We wandered through the gallery quietly until we reached a corner display. There, hanging on the wall, was a photo of our old dorm window. Through the glass, 2 silhouettes laughing, leaning close, frozen in a moment of warmth. Underneath, a handwritten title, "The Dare That Became Love." I stared at it, my heart pounding. "You took this?" She nodded. "It was the night of the first snow. You didn't know I took it." "I was scared you'd think I was being weird." I turned to her. "Why show it now?" "Because it's the truth," she said simply. "And because I needed to prove everyone, to myself, that what we had wasn't a joke. It never was." Tears stung my eyes. "Lila." She stepped closer, voice trembling. "I can't undo what I did, Harper. But I've spent every day since trying to be someone worthy of the way you looked at me that night. The way you believed in me when no one else did." Her hands shook. "If you never forgive me, I'll understand. But I had to let you know. I still love you." For a long time I couldn't speak. The noise of the gallery faded, replaced by the sound of my heartbeat. And then slowly I reached for her hand. Her eyes widened, hope flickering. "I hated you," I whispered. "Every day. But I also missed you. Every single night. A tear rolled down her cheek. Then maybe we can start over. I smiled through the blur of tears. No more dares. She laughed softly. No more dares. That spring we rebuilt slowly, carefully. It wasn't perfect. People still whispered. Some of her old friends cut her off completely. But Lila didn't care. She dropped out of the sorority, switched majors, and joined the student volunteer program. We started spending weekends together again, coffee, libraries, lazy mornings tangled in blankets. The world felt small, but it was enough. One night, as we lay on the dorm roof watching the stars, she said, "You know what's funny?" "What?" "The dare was supposed to last one semester. But here we are 2 years later." I laughed. Guess neither of us followed the rules. She smiled, her head resting on my shoulder. Good. Because I don't ever want this to end. Sometimes I think about how fragile it all was, how easily love can begin as a lie, and still find its way to the truth. People say college is where you find yourself. Maybe for us it was where we found each other. And even now when I look back, I don't remember the rumors or the pain or the tears. I just remember the girl who walked into my dorm room with a dare, and walked out with my heart. Graduation came like a quiet thunderstorm, inevitable, bittersweet, and a little too fast. The campus was drenched in spring light, the air thick with laughter and nostalgia. Everyone was taking photos in their caps and gowns, holding hands with friends they'd probably never see again. Lila and I stood under the oak tree behind the library, where it had all started, where she'd once dared me to steal a leaf for luck. That leaf was still tucked inside my journal, faded and fragile, just like those early memories. She adjusted her cap, smiling. "So, Miss Harper Quinn, any post-graduation plans?" "Going to take over the New York Times." "Only if they'll have me," I said with a grin. "I got the internship, actually." Her face lit up, then faltered. "New York? That's across the country." I nodded. "Yeah, just for a year. Maybe more if it goes well." Silence stretched between us, full of everything we weren't saying. Finally, she whispered, "I'm proud of you. You deserve this." I looked at her, the girl who once came into my life as a dare and stayed because of love. "And you? What's next for you?" "I applied for the art therapy program in Portland. I start in August." We both laughed softly. "Opposite ends of the country." "Seems like it," she said. Her voice was steady, but her eyes shimmered. "But maybe that's okay." That night, after the graduation party, we ended up back in our old dorm room. The walls were bare, the memories packed into boxes. Lila sat cross-legged on the floor, tracing her finger over the initials we'd carved on the window ledge one winter night. H+L. She smiled sadly. "Do you think someone else will move in here and fall in love too?" "Maybe," I said. "But not like we did." She laughed. "Yeah. Not through a dare and a scandal." We stayed quiet for a while, listening to the hum of distant music. Then she said, "I don't want to say goodbye." "You don't have to," I whispered. "Just, see you later." She nodded, and when she kissed me, it wasn't desperate or rushed. It was gentle, certain, a promise without words. New York was louder than I'd imagined. The city swallowed me whole, the clamor of traffic, the hum of ambition, the sleepless skyline. I threw myself into work, chasing deadlines and dreams, writing stories that mattered. But every time I typed my byline, I thought of her. We called every night at first, then every few days, then just weekends. Time zones and exhaustion became the quiet thieves of our closeness. One night, after a particularly rough week, I missed her call. When I checked my phone the next morning, there was a message. "Sometimes I wish I could teleport. Just to see you for 5 minutes. Just to remember what your laugh sounds like in person." I stared at the screen until my vision blurred. Then I called her, even though it was 2 a.m. her time. She answered instantly. "Harper. I don't care how far we are," I said, voice trembling. "I don't care if we only get 5 minutes. I just need to hear you." She laughed softly, half asleep. "You're hearing me now." And somehow that was enough. For a while. But love, real love, demands choices. 6 months later, I got an offer for a permanent position in New York. It was everything I'd ever wanted: stability, recognition, a career that mattered. But when I read the email, my heart didn't leap. It sank, because I knew what accepting it meant. That night I walked along the Brooklyn Bridge, the wind biting through my coat, my phone cold in my hand. Lila's name glowed on the screen. I called her. She picked up after one ring. Hey you. Hey. My breath fogged in the air. I got the offer. That's amazing, she said. Then quietly, you don't sound happy. I hesitated. It's just, if I take it, I'd be here for at least another year. Silence. Then she said, I don't want to be the reason you don't chase your dream, Harper. And I don't want my dream to mean losing you. She exhaled shakily. Maybe we're both a little too used to fixing things, huh? Maybe. Then, after a long pause, she said the words that cut through me like sunlight through fog. Come home. 2 weeks later I did. I left the job, packed 2 suitcases, and got on the earliest flight to Portland. My editor called me reckless. My parents called me emotional. But I didn't care. When I stepped out of the airport, she was there waiting with a cardboard sign that said, Roommate of the Year. I laughed so hard I cried. She ran to me, coat flapping, eyes bright, and before I could even speak, she wrapped her arms around me. You're here, she whispered into my neck. I'm here, I breathed. And in that moment the world felt right again. Life in Portland was slower, softer. We found a tiny apartment with creaky floors and a balcony that barely fit 2 chairs. Mornings smelled like burnt toast and coffee. Evenings were full of art supplies, half-finished articles, and shared blankets. Sometimes we fought about dishes, about work stress, about how I left socks everywhere. But even in those moments there was never a doubt. Never that sharp edge of fear that it could all disappear. Because this time love wasn't a dare. It was a choice we made every single day. One rainy afternoon, Lila came home with a paint-stained apron and a grin. What's that? I asked. She held up a canvas still wet, colors bleeding into one another. It was sitting on the dorm room floor, surrounded by books, laughter frozen in brushstrokes. She'd titled it The Beginning. I looked at her, tears threatening to spill. It's beautiful. So are you, she said and kissed me, her lips warm and certain. Years passed quietly after that. We built a life not perfect but ours. Lila opened a small art therapy studio, helping kids find their voice through color and creation. I became a columnist for a regional paper, writing about love, resilience, and the stories people hide behind smiles. Sometimes when I wrote late at night, she'd fall asleep on the couch, paint smudged on her hands. I'd look at her and think about that first night she walked into my dorm, the girl with too many suitcases and too much charm. And I'd realize that every wrong turn, every mistake, had led us here to this quiet, steady happiness. On our 5th anniversary, she took me back to campus. The dorms looked smaller now, the trees taller. We walked through the halls hand in hand, laughing at how ancient everything seemed. When we reached our old door, we paused. It was closed, probably belonging to 2 new girls who had no idea what had happened there. She looked at me and smiled. Do you remember what you said to me that first night? I laughed. Something like, please don't play Taylor Swift at 8 a.m.? She grinned. Exactly. And now you sing along. Because you corrupted me. She leaned closer, whispering, worth it. I smiled. Completely. That evening we sat on the same rooftop where we'd watched the stars years ago. The city lights twinkled below, the air cool and still. She pulled a small box from her jacket pocket. My breath caught. Before you freak out, she said quickly, it's not what you think. I laughed nervously. Then what is it? She opened the box. Inside was a silver key, simple but shining. It's for the new studio, she said. I rented the space next door for you. You always said you wanted a quiet place to write. I stared at her, speechless. You don't have to say anything, she said softly. Just stay. Keep building this life with me. I took the key, my fingers trembling. You really think I'd ever leave again? Her eyes glistened. No, not this time. I leaned in and kissed her, the city blurring around us. Later that night, as we lay in bed, I whispered, do you ever think about how it all started? She chuckled. You mean the stupid dare? Yeah. Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if you'd never picked my name. She turned to me, her voice warm and certain. Then I would have found another way. Because I think somehow I was always meant to find you. I smiled, tears sliding down my cheeks. That's the cheesiest thing you've ever said. And you love it, she teased. I do. Years from now, when someone asks me about my first love, I'll tell them about a girl named Lila Bennett who agreed to be my roommate as a joke, but taught me that love isn't about perfection or timing or plans. It's about the moments in between, the laughter after tears, the forgiveness after hurt, the quiet, stubborn decision to stay. Because love isn't found, it's built. And we built ours out of something that was never meant to last but somehow beautifully did. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.